What will happen when a sleeping security guard turns out to be a big shot? Who was he? But when he revealed a conspiracy bigger than anyone imagined. Now, a manager and his unlikely ally feared for their lives. But before we start, if you guys like this story, please comment below and subscribe to Story Store. Please hit the bell icon. Thank you. The echo of rapid footsteps filled the dimly lit corridor. Security alarms blared, their shrill cries slicing through the tense atmosphere. Red lights flashed intermittently, casting eerie shadows on the concrete walls. Evan Hartman, the facility manager, sprinted toward the central control room, his heart racing faster than his feet could carry him. Adrenaline pumped through his veins as he gripped his walkie-talkie. "Status report," he barked into the device, dodging a maintenance cart that had been abandoned in the chaos. "Intruder alert on level 3. A panicked voice crackled back. "We need more personnel here now." Evan swore under his breath. They couldn't afford a security breach, not tonight. Not with the high-profile shipment secured in Vault 17. He'd hired additional guards for this very reason. But now, as he scanned the live feeds from his tablet, one screen caught his eye. A security guard slumped against the wall, hat tilted over his eyes, completely oblivious to the chaos unfolding around him. "Unbelievable," Evan muttered. His jaw clenched as anger surged through him. He stormed down the hall toward the unconscious figure. Evan Hartman's heart pounded as he reached the unconscious guard, Marcus Vega. The chaos of blaring alarms and flashing lights faded into the background. Evan shook Marcus roughly, anger simmering beneath his professionalism. "Wake up," he commanded. No response. Marcus's face was pale, his breathing shallow, more than just a nap. Concern replaced Evan's frustration as paramedics arrived, swiftly assessing the situation. As Marcus was carried away, Evan's mind raced. How could a guard, supposedly hand-picked for this high-security assignment, be so careless? Later that night, with the facility back under control, Evan sat in his office, reviewing Marcus's file. The spotless yet sparse employment record raised more questions than it answered. Something about Marcus didn't add up, and Evan intended to find out exactly what that was. The next morning, the facility buzzed with unease. Rumors of the security breach spread like wildfire. Evan barely had time to sip his coffee before his assistant burst into the office. "There's a federal agent here to see you," she announced nervously. Evan frowned, setting his cup down. Moments later, a sharp-suited woman with a steely gaze entered the room. "Agent Reese," she introduced herself, flashing her badge. "We're looking for someone." Evan's instincts bristled. "Who?" "Marcus Vega," she said. "He's an ex-Black Ops operative with enemies in high places." The revelation hit Evan like a punch to the gut. He struggled to process the information. "Are you saying one of my security guards is a former government operative?" Reese's expression was grim. "I'm saying he's a man who's very good at hiding, but someone found him. That's why you had that breach last night." Evan's jaw tightened. He realized the breach was no coincidence. It was a warning, and Marcus was at the center of it all. Marcus Vega's eyelids fluttered open in the infirmary, his gaze cautious as he took in the sterile surroundings. Evan stood nearby, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "You've got some explaining to do," Evan said sharply. Marcus's lips thinned. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he muttered. "I've been laying low for a reason." Evan's frustration simmered. "So you're a former Black Ops operative?" Marcus nodded reluctantly. "I made enemies in powerful places, thought I could disappear." Evan's gaze hardened. "Well, you've put us all at risk." Marcus sat up, wincing. I'll fix this, he promised. Despite his reservations, Evan felt a flicker of hope. Marcus wasn't just trouble. He might be the solution they needed. In the holding cell, Finn leaned casually against the wall, a smirk playing on his lips. Evan stood on the other side, seething. "What were you after?" Evan demanded. Finn's eyes gleamed with amusement. "Not what, who? Your friend Vega has quite the past." Evan's stomach churned. "Why come here?" Finn chuckled. "You're asking the wrong question, manager. You should be wondering what's coming next." Marcus appeared at Evan's side, his presence imposing. Finn's smirk faded. "Ah, the man of the hour," Finn sneered. "Ready for round 2? Evan's resolve hardened. Whatever danger lay ahead, they would face it together. Evan paced his office, tension thick in the air. Marcus leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "We need to prepare for an attack," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the looming threat. Evan shot him a skeptical glance. "Why should I trust you?" Marcus met his gaze evenly. "Because right now, I'm your best chance at keeping this place safe." Reluctantly, Evan nodded. Minutes later, they gathered the security team. "Listen up," Marcus commanded, his authoritative tone cutting through the murmurs. "We're fortifying key areas and setting up surveillance traps." The team exchanged uneasy glances but followed his lead. Evan watched, surprised at how naturally Marcus took control. As the preparations intensified, a strange sense of unity emerged. Despite the odds, they were ready to face whatever came next, and Marcus was at the center of their defense. The facility was eerily silent as night fell, every shadow laden with tension. Evan stood by the monitors, tracking every movement on the grounds. Marcus's voice crackled through the radio. "South perimeter secure." Suddenly, an alert flashed on the screen. "Intruders." Evan's pulse quickened. "They're here," he warned. Marcus sprinted to the entrance, his movements precise and calculated. The security team held their positions, nerves taut. A flash of light and the crack of gunfire shattered the silence. Evan coordinated from the control room, his trust in Marcus growing with each passing second. As the skirmish intensified, Marcus's strategic brilliance became evident. Within minutes, the intruders were subdued. Evan exhaled shakily. "Status?" he asked over the radio. Marcus's voice came through steady. "Clear. We got them." Relief washed over Evan. They had weathered the storm and emerged stronger for it. As dawn broke, the team gathered in the control room, exhaustion etched on every face. Evan leaned over the conference table, eyes on Marcus. "You were right," Evan admitted, his voice heavy with gratitude. Marcus nodded, his usual stoicism intact. "This place is safe now." Agent Reese entered, her expression unreadable. "We have Finn and his men in custody," she confirmed, "but this isn't over." Marcus met her gaze. "It never is." Evan frowned. "What does that mean?" Marcus sighed. "Enemies like mine don't just disappear." Despite the lingering threat, a sense of victory filled the room. The facility stood secure, its people safe. "You're welcome to stay," Evan offered. Marcus's eyes softened. "We'll see," he said, cryptically. As the team dispersed, Evan knew one thing for certain. Life at the facility would never be the same. The following weeks brought a new sense of order to the facility. Security measures were tighter, and the team operated with newfound confidence. Evan found himself relying on Marcus's expertise more than ever. One afternoon, Marcus stood by the security console, his gaze distant. "Thinking of moving on?" Evan asked, sensing his restlessness. Marcus shrugged. "It's in my nature." Evan extended his hand. "Wherever you go, you have allies here." Marcus grasped it firmly. "Thanks, Evan. You're a good leader." As Marcus walked toward the exit, a sense of finality lingered. Yet Evan knew it wasn't goodbye. Not really. The bonds forged through danger were unbreakable. As the facility thrived, the lessons learned from that fateful night would guide them forward. And wherever Marcus's path led, he carried with him the strength of those who had stood by his side,